So by now you should be familiar with the basics of differentiation. What I'm going to talk about now is some of the rules of differentiation, and we'll start with the first one. It's probably the easiest to understand. It's called the chain rule. So what we've got here, if we've got a function here, y equals some function all to the power of n, what its derivative is going to look like is we take n minus 1, so that's what we've normally been doing, but we'll leave the function as is for the moment, and then we multiply it all by the derivative of this function that's inside. So let's have a look at what that actually looks like. So I'll take a function, let's go let's go y is equal to x squared, take 2x all to the power of 4. As you can see, we've got this function here inside of a whole one. Now, we could go through, expand it all out, then find the derivatives of it, simplify it. That's just going to get long and tedious, and especially when we're dealing with these powers here being much, much larger, it's just going to get unworkable. So what we'll do is use our chain rule here. Let's see what it's going to look like. So y dash, meaning it's the derivative of this function. Let's take this whole bit to start with. So let's work out what the derivative of this bit here is. So we take our 4 out the front like we normally have been. 4. We'll leave this as is inside. X squared minus 2x to the power of 3. So 4 minus 1 equals 3. Then we times that by the derivative of the function inside. So like normal, it's just going to be 2x minus 2. Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. So again, we've gone through, we've got, it's really, if we want to think about it, it's a function within a function. So that's where our chain rule is going to really come into its own. So a function within a function. So we take the derivative of the whole function, and then we multiply it by the derivative of the function inside. And if we want to tidy this up, we could really just write y dash is equal to 4x squared minus 2x to the power of 3 2x minus 2. And we could leave it like that, and that's perfectly acceptable. Alright, so what about another example? Let me scroll down a little bit so I've got a bit more room. Let's take our function that looks like this. Y is equal to 4 divided by the square root of 1 minus 2x. Now, I'll do that function first, then do square root over it. So, at first glance, it doesn't seem like we have a function within a function, but we do. Let's simplify, or let's change this and into something that looks a little bit different. So this really is the same as 4 1 minus 2x to the power of minus a half. Now do you see how it's more like a function within a function? So hopefully that makes a bit more sense. Looking at it here, you can go, let's do it like that. So let's work out the derivative of it. Y dash. Now, again, work out the function bit first. So we have, like we've been doing before, take off 1 from here, add this out the front, and you should end up with something that's going to look a little bit like 4 times, let's go minus a half, so taking that down the front here, 1 minus 2x, all to the power of minus 3 on 2. Whew, that's looking big. Then we've got to times it by the derivative of this. So what is the derivative of this one here going to be? It should be minus 2. So this is looking ugly, let's simplify it. Y dash is equal to 4 times minus a half is going to be minus 2. 1 minus 2x to the power of minus 3 on 2 multiplied by minus 2. Let's then collect these two terms together, the minus 2 and the 2, and you'll end up with our derivative of 4, 1 minus 2x to the power of minus 3 on 2. And you can just leave it like that. That is perfectly acceptable. So that's the basis of the chain rule. You might see, and I'll scroll down a little bit, there's another way that you can set it out. And that is where we do a thing called U substitution. So let's look at our first example, and I'll go through U substitution with it. So let's slightly change the thickness of the pen, because that's a bit too thick. Let's look at, again, same function as before. Y is equal to x squared minus 2x to the power of 4. What we do here, we say that U is equal to x squared minus 2x. Now, what this is going to do, if we then write this out, we're going to have y equals u to the power of 4. See how that works? So we've got that has now been substituted for u. So then we can just work out y dash, the derivative of this is just 3u to the power of 3, multiplied by our u dash, or the derivative of u. And u dash is equal to 2x minus 2. And then we can just go through, substitute back in for u and u dash, and we'll end up with our derivative. So 3x squared minus 2x power 3 multiplied by 2x minus 2. And that is just our basis of the chain rule. So hopefully that makes sense. If you want to have a look in the textbook on page 37, I've just gone through example 7. So have another look through if you need to. Have a listen to the video again. Hopefully that makes sense. Leave me any comments if you need to.